Good morning. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. Yes, we finished with GS2, GS3, and I think this is the Sandeep finished 1 and 2, 1 and 4. So this will be the final module on essay. Uh, Essay, like unlike GS 1, 2, 3, 4, I feel it is. Many people say it is an extension of GS. I don't agree with that. If GS होते GS material will get as fodder, then I'll use it in essay. I don't think so. So unlike GS 1, 2, 3, 4, I feel 1, 2, 3 is more objective in nature. You have certain points, data, etc. information, you can write it. There can be right and wrong answers in 1, 2, 3. In ethics and essay, there is not like, it is not like right or wrong essay or right or wrong ethics answer. It's like good, better and best. So there is no wrong essay or bad essay. It is like good, better and best. So we'll just discuss. It will not be a very long session. So first and foremost, like usually scoring in essay in recent years has been like extreme marks. Either your students are getting 70, 80 or you are getting 115, 120, 125. So or 125 plus. Very rare 125 plus, but at least 120 plus. So essay has becoming that make or break paper. Let's say you're very close to even with a less. One of my friend was there, like he made it to the interview last year 2024, but he had an excellent score in GS papers, excellent score in optional, very good again score in interview, but when he did not make it into the final list. Now we were all surprised when the marks list was out. His score in essay was 70. So even if he had just another 25 or 30 marks, just 100, he would have been in top 200, 250 or gone with at least some top 3-4 services. So that's why essay is very important. Most people neglect essay as I said, just as an extension of GS. Now GS material ಓದ್ತೀವಿ, ಏನೋ ಒಂದು 3 ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಬರ್ತೀನಿ, I'll do something. Most people even don't practice much. Even the ones who are giving mains, they hardly have practiced anything. But my suggestion is you take essay seriously, write at least one essay every 15 days. So at least brainstorm and discuss with your friends. If not, you don't write the entire essay, at least you should be knowing what to write. So essay, you are expected to, there will be 8 essays, like 4 each in each section, part A, part B. Now your role is to choose one from each part, and there will be like 10 to 12 pages. So that will be 20 to 24 pages in all. So you have to write, you are expected to write 10 to 12 pages for each essay. So 3 hours ಅಂತ ಅಂದಾಗ 1.5 ಗಂಟೆ you are dividing. Now in that 1.5 hour, 15 minutes you are only brainstorming. You pick, first of all you are choosing a topic. That itself will actually be very difficult. You can easily eliminate let's say part A ಒಳಗೆ 2 ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಡ್ತೀರ. I don't know, ಈ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಅಂತೂ ನನಗೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ you will remove it. But the other two, choosing between the two will be difficult. So choosing and brainstorming both should be done in 15 or less than max to max 20 minutes. Thereafter you will be left with 1 hour 10 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes. Ashte. So the more better you brainstorm, the better flow you will get in essays. So in general, essay ge material eno, how do we prepare essay? The foundation for a good essay is I feel 3 sources. 3 to 4 sources. First source I feel is you should first read good essays first, topper essays, topper copies. So go and see last few years ಅಲ್ಲಿ best essays course ಯಾವ್ದಾದಿದೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದಷ್ಟೇ. You don't read essays of only AIR 1, 2, 3. That is not how you actually read ಅವ್ರದ್ದು they write the best essays ಅಂತಲ್ಲ. You should see which topper has scored very high in essay. You pick such, do it for other toppers also. ನೀವು ಬರೀ AIR 1 ಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಓದಕ, ಮೇ ಬಿ he might have got extremely high marks in one paper plus had a very good interview, that's why he made it. So ಆ ಥರ ಇರಲ್ಲ. So you should pick based on topper. ನಂಗೆ GS2 good answer copies ಓದಿದ್ರೆ you search who has topped the GS2, ಹಂಗೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು 2-3 ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಆ ಥರ you choose, narrow it down and then start reading. So this is how you do for all the papers and also for essays. So start reading very good essays first, topper copies. Only when you read good essays, then you will know what is a good essay, then what is you are expected to do ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So first read topper essays. Second, then you will understand that okay, he has put a nice story at the introduction. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಏನಲ್ಲ, ಎನೆಕ್ಡಾಟ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಎನೆಕ್ಡಾಟ್ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು he has brought some very good new idea, ಇಲ್ಲ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ ಥೀಮ್ನೇ he has brought it very nuanced way, ತುಂಬ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ನ ತಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಓಕೆ, ಇವ್ರು ತಂದರು, ನಾವು ವಾಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಐ ಡೂ. ನೀವೊಂದು ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನೆಕ್ಡಾಟ್ಸ್, ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೀಸ್, ಮೋಟಿವೇಶನಲ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೀಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಥೀಮ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ you pick, so and make a collection of it. So you second thing you should be doing is make a collection of anecdotes, very good anecdotes, like at least it should be like 30-40 good collection of anecdotes. It can be like anything related to anthropology, sociology, political science, everything, like anything you come across, history, mythology, freedom struggle, judgments, everything. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಥೀಮ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಪುಟ್ ಗುಡ್, ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಸ್ಟಿವ್ ಕಂಪ್ರಿಹೆನ್ಸಿವ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನೆಕ್ಡೋಟ್ಸ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ವಿಚ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಕಂಪೈಲ್ಡ್. ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನು ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಗ್ರೂಪಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಎಸ್ಟರ್ಡೇ. ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೋ ಥ್ರೂ ಇಟ್, ಮೇಕ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್, ನಾಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಐ ಸೆಡ್ ಟು ಅದರ್. ಅದನ್ನೇ ಒಂದು ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ, ಯು ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಆನ್ ಇಟ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವುದು ಓಕೆ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೀಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸಲೆಂಟ್ ಎನೆಕ್ಡೋಟ್, ದೆನ್ ಅಂಥದನ್ನಷ್ಟೇ you can pick on. Then third source should be this is all called as fodder material, like some fodder material upon which ನೀವು ಏನು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಕೊಟ್ರು I can use it anta. So you can build upon it. Third will be a good collection of quotations. So a quotations na two way you start preparing. So one is you go through all the previous essay papers, you go through the themes and you identify various themes that the UPSC has asked. You can use ChatGPT for it, like download the last 5-6 years or 7 years papers of essays, put it on ChatGPT and ask it to give a various themes, like give me like 5-10 themes that UPSC has consistently asked upon. So once you identify the themes, ಈಗ quotations ಹೆಂಗೆ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ, give me 5-10 quotations on all of these themes. So let's say I have identified 10 themes. 10 quotations for each of those themes will give you 100 quotations. So you have a very good exhaustive list of 100 quotations. You can make it just 50-60, that is based on your, but you should make it on your own. Like you read the quotation, you write it in your book. Now don't directly copy paste it because you will not remember it. So ಓದಿ then you are putting it on your notes, then the ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೋ ಅಂತ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. You will retain it more betterly, you will better retain it. Then that should be it. Now quotations, second way of producing quotations is based on personalities. So you identify 10-15 personalities like Gandhiji, Buddha, the very cliched one, and also the very unpopular ones, presidents, various activists, etc. ಅವ್ರದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪೈಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲರದ್ದು 2 quotations. give me quotations of all these personalities, like 2 very popular quotations. So again, you produce another 30-40 quotations here plus the other ones. You have a very good compilation of your own compilation of quotations. You had a compilation of anecdotes, you had a good compilation of quotations. Then starting in toppers material odirtira, alli you see anything, you drop that also. So that is needed. Then adu bitre I'll show the material also, so that okay, now you have a very good exhaustive list of quotations, anecdotes, topper copies. Now you know you have a good solid in the process. You've also understood, like on the 5-6 papers themes identify madada, you will know like what are the themes that are recurring, and most of them, one common trend is essays are becoming more philosophical in nature. Now that is again a problem and also a advantage also. See, philosophical, there will be 2 types of topics. One, directly there will be very generic athwa domain specific, theme specific essays. For example, forests bagge. Last 2 to 3 years there were topics on forests, so which is a very narrow topic, and someone interested or with a forestry or athwa some interest in that, they will can write better essays there. But mostly it will be like 70-80% are philosophical essays. But the thing with philosophical essays is, philosophical irbohudu, that does not mean you have to write philosophical tone alle baribekan, because not everyone can write philosophical essays easily. The objective here is it might sound very philosophical, the topic, but you explore different themes in those things. We will discuss that later. But it is not that philosophical ideas baritidini bari nan Vivekananda athwa some spiritual angle tartidini philosophical. That is not. That is again just one part of it. You can bring it to all the like GS4, GS 1, 2, 3 themes. You can expand and write. I will show my answer copies also, and also we will discuss as we go along. So, but so we'll start off with from topic to thought, how UPSC thinks, evaluates and rewards. Why do intelligent candidates score only 90 to 100 in essays? You might have seen GSL extremely high marks irate, but somehow with essay they are lagging. So essay is not like I will read something and I will dump and I will get marks. Unlike GS, it does not work like that. Essay is a very creative field. This is only one paper where, apart from ethics, even ethics there is limitation to it, but with essay there is no such limitation. The field is open. All your reading, all your extra co-curricular interests, extra reading, non-UPSC reading, everything comes in handy. I forgot to mention the 4th source for you will be everyday editorials. Editorials that are like very UPSC related, something beyond that, or some philosophical athwa abstract topics mele bardirtare. You will get some ideas on that. Even the regular editorials also will help you. Editorials on international relation, etc. will make sure ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ IR angle ನ ಎಲ್ಲ essay ನಲ್ಲಿ ತರಬಹುದು. So that will again help you. So 4th source should be the newspapers. Then anyone has a habit of reading beyond UPSC books like fiction, non-fiction, etc. Adanella, that will all come in very handy here. So ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನೇ you can make use of it for introduction, for various ideas, etc. So next, essay. So first thing is, foundational myth is essay is not equal to writing. Like what most aspirants believe is essay is about writing well, good vocabulary, fluent English, impressive quotes strung together. No, what actually UPSC rewards is, essay is about thinking deeply. Writing is merely the final visible expression of invisible intellectual process. So it is rewarding deep thinking, analytical thinking, something where you can bring in different ideas, but also those ideas are relevant, and also there is a flow to it, coherence in that idea. So the pen follows the mind, train the mind first. telling. So it is not just that you should have very good English, very good vocabulary, only those are getting good flowery language. No, UPSC is not rewarding such things. So forget vocabulary, think deep. First start thinking, think creatively first. Don't worry about the fancy quotes, the impressive vocabulary, English fluency. These are all like um, garnishing. Only after the food is prepared, you can do all of this and make it look attractive. But this is the main food. So focus on that. Then yes, it has its importance, but it is a primary, that is primary, this is secondary. This is only supplementary to it. So adike high fluency, all this will, with more writing, with more reading, you will all develop that. But adanne nan essay, that itself should not become your essay. Putting rosy, flowery words, that itself is not essay. You are using extremely flowery language, etc. But it is not answering to the essay. You are not expressing what the essay wants. Then it is of no use. So then vocabulary, yes, vocabulary to an extent matters. Yes, you should have, and I feel with a lot of GS reading, you will develop a fair level of vocabulary. That is more than enough. So what actually UPSC wants or tests is its depth of thought, and this is given in the syllabus itself. In the UPSC notification, when you look at the essay syllabus, it is given. There is no syllabus to it, but these are the only keywords that are mentioned. He says that the essay should have depth of thought. These are the words that are picked by UPSC. So these you should be focusing on these 5 things. There should be depth of thought. Second, there should be breadth of dimensions. So you are philosophical topic bandaga, you are not only writing philosophy, you are utilizing that idea to expand into various other dimensions. It can be social, political, economical, technological, legal, international affairs. It can be societal. Again, in all of these you can break into again number of things. In societal, it can be women, children, marginal, etc. You can bring in ideas from different books, philosophical ideas, etc. So it is not that philosophical essay and takshana and bari philosophy barita idini. So it should have a breadth of dimension, it should have depth of thought, it should have coherence. What is coherence? Coherence is entire essay is flowing like a stream. One paragraph I am writing something about woman empowerment, and suddenly the next paragraph is talking about some international relation. The next paragraph is again something talking extremely about some philosophical idea. Then again 4th paragraph is suddenly transitioning to history. That is a very bad essay. Coherence means there should be a logical flow to it. All of it is moving, transitioning smoothly and not abruptly. So you should have coherence in the essay, and what you are telling in the above paragraph should move and slowly transform into the next idea. You should show the transition. That is coherence. Originality is again, you're not just whatever anecdote, etc. Yes, this will add flavor, value to it, but that itself is not the idea. So you should have some originality in thinking. You should bring in some original thought process. It's not that just you're picking and dropping all the collected things and saying I have written an essay. It should be a bit original. Then flow. I think coherence and flow are like overlapping. Same. Flow is, it should flow smoothly. For example, there's a usually essay ಒಳಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ you talk about the pro side of it, then which is called as the thesis. You talk about the topic first, then you talk about the opposite side of it, which is called as the antithesis. Then you combine both together, and that side is called as the synthesis. So thesis first, which you are supporting the, yes, I am agreeing with this topic. Then comes the antithesis, where you are saying no, this is not completely true, there is other side to the picture, and that is where you are talking about the other side of the coin. So you are bringing new ideas, the opposite ideas. Then comes the synthesis, where you are combining and say both are like individually true, but it can be made better, or this is something I propose, or how they can coexist together. So that is synthesis. You are bringing both ideas together and then concluding. So that is flow. Flow is you start with an anecdote, then you are telling, okay, in this essay we will discuss this. This is the thesis question. You propose questions here. You say, in this essay we are going to discuss what is a topic. Then we'll take an example and do that. Then you write the thesis. Then you move to the antithesis. Then you combine both, which is synthesis. Then you summarize the entire essay before concluding. You summarize all that you did in 10 pages. On the 11th page you are summarizing, which is called as the penultimate paragraph. Then in the ultimate paragraph you are concluding. Now conclusion, again you have written an anecdote in the first page. Let's say story bardidira. Now that story should not just disappear, because you are just using it as an introduction, and after that adu ellu baralla story. So you should utilize at the back end, again conclusionally you should link back to the first page. So just like we saw how ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಏನು ಪ್ರಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಸ್ಟೋರಿನ ಅಗೇನ್ ಯು ಕಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್, ಯು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ದಟ್ ಸರ್ಕಲ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್. ಸೊ penultimate, you are talking about the summary, you are summarizing, you are bringing all these ideas together and again briefly describing in one half page. Then you are concluding. Finally you are concluding. You can conclude with a good quotation, with a good poem. If you have a habit of writing poems, use a poem there. You have a good knowledge of Kabir Dohas or Basavana's Vachanas, use them again in conclusion. So the end should be very powerful. It should be like, if I have to put a graph, the essay starts like this and then it goes, and the conclusion should be like, it should end on a high. He should not feel like, okay, this went somewhere in the middle, then again it just tapered off. He did not know what did you even do. You proposed so many ideas in the middle and somewhat they just disappeared at the end. So that is why summary becomes very important. Or let's say you are writing only from one side. Okay, I agree with this topic, so nan bari ಒಂದು 10 ideas ತಂದು I'm just supporting the idea. It will be just a straight line. There is no mix in that. You are only giving one perspective. Yes, that perspective might be right, but that is not the thing. Your role is to look at things from both perspective. Just like in GS, we do not just support any one idea. You also give the challenges to it, then way forward. Similar pattern, but in a much more detailed format is essay. So it should have depth of thought, breadth of dimensions, coherence, originality, and flow. You make sure always assess your own essays in these things. Whenever you write an essay, think, does it have depth of thought? Does it have breadth of dimension? Bari ಒಂದು ಎರಡು ಐಡಿಯಾನೇ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ, or I have explored more ideas, and in the process of exploring more dimensions you will lose depth of thought because you are bringing more. Let's say 4 ideas, you are only bringing 2 ideas, that is, but very deeply. So depth of thought for both the dimensions is there, but you are covering only 2 dimensions. Now another essay will be like you are covering 10 dimensions, but each of those dimensions are just barely scratching the surface. You are not penetrating deep. So it should be mix of both. My suggestion is every dimension should be just 1 to 2 paragraphs. That's it. And every page should have maximum 2 to 3 paragraphs, small paragraphs, not more than. You should not be like that you are writing 4-5 paragraphs in each page. Then that is this is not paragraph, it will be abruptly shifting. So max 2 to 3 paragraphs, and every dimension should be just 2 paragraphs. So this is how you will balance depth of breadth of dimension and depth of thought. Then coherence, flow, I will tell you how you should maintain it. Then the essay pyramid, what holds an essay up? See, look at the pyramid 1, 2, 3. Now the base is ideas. Where will those ideas come from? From brainstorming. So immediately essay node takshana you are not going to start writing. This is not GS means GS the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is not where you have like you have to start from word go so that you finish. No, here you have to build very like all the basic brainstorming session. The first 15 minutes that you put for every essay, that is the most important the few minutes that you spend on essay. Nanu brainstorm alli nanu okay 15-20 minutes ಹೇಳಿದರೆ sir I will just finish in 5 minutes so that I can utilize the other 10 minutes ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ no. What will happen? Yes, eventually you might start off very quickly. Others will be just brainstorming. You might have started off quickly. Maybe ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ 10-12 pages ಬರಬೇಕು. By the time of second or third page ending, you will be stuck because you don't know what to do next. You only brainstorm till the first few pages. Then what you do again, you spend a lot of time and think, I'm not getting enough ideas in this topic. I will change the topic. Some people do this on the exam day also. Then they again scratch all those papers, then write the new topic. They have lost 2-3 pages also. So don't end up in such situations. That is why 15 to 20 minutes of extensive brainstorming is mandatory. So the bottom of the pyramid, the base of the pyramid is ideas. Those ideas are coming from your newspaper, your GS content, the collections of quotations and the collection of anecdotes. These 4 resources is your number 3, the ideas. So those ideas, yes, you have a collection, but on the day of the exam, in that 15 minutes, you are brainstorming those ideas first. So that is the bottom of the pyramid, number 3. Number 2 is the structure. Now you have a lot of ideas, you have come up a lot of ideas. Not every brainstormed idea should be part of the essay. Now just because I have brainstormed it, I have come up with this idea, I have to mandatorily use it anta ಏನು hard and fast rule ಇಲ್ಲ. Structure should be like, as I said, there are different structures. My suggestion is for 2 essays you follow 2 different structures. For example, one the anecdote in the thesis questions ಬರ್ದು thesis ಬರೀತೀರ, antithesis, synthesis, you write the summary, then you conclude, and then conclude with a poem or that. This is a standard one format. Make sure you write the structure first. The second structure will be, this is again, how will you get to know different structures? Go through different topper copies, then you will understand. Now in second structure you might not necessarily write thesis question or not necessarily write an anecdote. You might come up with a current affair context or a recent happening that has happened in those months. You briefly explain that, maybe utilize same just like anecdote, again you are coming back to the anecdote, here also you are coming back to the context, similar, same purpose. So you are just using these anecdotes or current affair theme etc. just as an anchor. That itself is not an essay, it is just an anchor around which you are building, and then again you are coming back to the, so it is like it starts here, you start off like this, and then you again come back to the anecdote or the first theme that you have mentioned. So the second structure can be like you make use of current affairs context. My another suggestion in the second structure is new book odi bidi beyond UPSC non-fiction fiction. My suggestion is you go to ChatGPT, ask it to give like make a list of 10 to 15 books, both fiction and non-fiction. Of these are that the classic English literature athwa books like 1984 George Orwell books na these 2 ideas are mandatory to bring. 1984 Animal Farm and 1984. Then there are a lot of other books. You can bring a lot of ideas from Russian writer yararu Dostoevsky, yes, Crime and Punishment. You can, and yes, and adu ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಏನೋ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಬ್ರದರ್ಸ್ ಕರಾಮಜೋವ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಥರ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ. ನೀವು ಆ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಓದಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಯುವರ್ ಜಾಬ್ ಈಸ್ ಗೋ ಟು ಚಾಟ್ GPT, ask it to first give these classic books 10-15. You tell it that give me briefly explain the ideas in this book or the story of this book briefly. I want to utilize them in essay as an essay, anecdotes or introduction paragraphs. So for UPSC means now every book for this you will have converted those ideas into anecdotes. You can readily utilize them as your anecdotes. Now this will be different. Anecdotes separately one structure. The second structure can be utilizing some ideas of these books. So 1984 there is a Mr. Smith anta irtane avanu like it is the context is that there is a beginning of surveillance state. Surveillance andre the government is becoming very powerful. There is a ministry of truth anta irutte, adanna adar powers kami ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Ministry of propaganda anta create ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, where the government is only showing one side of the things. Everything is all the media is censored. Everything ಯಾವುದು book na publish ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. Anything against the government is not published. So ಇದೊಂದು fictional book that he had written, and how the ideas are very relevant. So 1984 the ideas you can always bring in an essay. So ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್, ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸೇ ದ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಈಸ್ ಆನ್ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಆರ್ ಆನ್ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಥಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಲಿಬರ್ಟಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್, then build your essay, then conclude with the same book. So that is the utility of these themes. So the second structure will be like this. You are using a book summary, etc. Now first structurally thesis questions hedidvi. In this essay we are going to explore what is happiness, what is or some other topic. You are again 3-4 questions. A theme thesis question purpose it is like you are telling what will I do in the next 10-12 pages, because 10-12 pages tanka your job is to hook his attention. Let's say you are not doing all of this and you are writing a very boring essay, then he will be like this is going nowhere, adakke first marks haagtare ಆಮೇಲೆ evaluate ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. So you don't want to be in that position. adakke you catch his curiosity, catch his attention. That is why you are telling, okay, I will be doing this. That's the purpose of thesis question. Most people don't explain this. Thesis question bariri antar ashte. First of all, most people don't tell what is thesis question, why are we doing it. It is like a broad highlight as to what I will be doing in the next 12 pages. So that will ensure that, okay, now he knows what the writer is going to do in the next 12 pages. So he will also prepare for that. That predictability is important. So he will wait, he will have a structure in his mind. So this thesis is nothing but the structure which we are talking number 2. So that's the purpose of a thesis. So in second structure that we are talking about, illi thesis question you might not necessarily write. You can directly start off with the essay. That is again a good thing, but instead of writing thesis question, you are writing the subtitles. So you are breaking the entire essay into different parts. So you are mentioning the subtitle and then writing the next page. You are writing another after 2-3 pages the next idea, the antithesis. So you are mentioning let's say another idea, subtitle. Then so those subtitles will act as a thesis question, or it will give a pattern or a structure to it. So this is how 2 different ideas you can bring, 2 different structures. So if you write one essay in the first structure, make sure you write on the other. It is again not a hard and fast rule. If you are not comfortable, or you are comfortable with only one particular type of structure, write both in the same structure. So then comes expression. You have ideas, you have structure, and then there is expression. See, you have lot of ideas, now you have a structure, a skeleton to it. Now you are finally writing. Now that is expression. So expression can be, this is where I feel good words, good phrases, vocabulary is needed here. If you do not have 3 and 2, 1 does not really matter. 3, 2 iddaga 1 gets its other significance actually matters. So that is where in 1 is expression, where you should start weaving them together, all these ideas. So the hierarchy that matters, ideas are the foundation, structure channels them, and expression delivers them. So finally, why expression is important? Because you're ultimately it is through that you are delivering them. Because 2, 3, yes, but ultimately these two will remain only with you. On the last page ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೇನು ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಬ್ರೈನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಕ್, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನೀವು 3 and 2 you are doing. But if you are not delivering on this, your entire essay collapses. Because GS 1 to 3 paper ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ, what you study, how many books you have studied, what tests you have written, does not evaluator ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ. Evaluator ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋದು only what you have written on that paper, what the paper says to him. Similarly, what you have expressed finally, ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ he is going to judge you. You might have put a lot of effort, time here, but ultimately it is 1 that really matters. So ideas are the foundation, structure channels them, expression delivers them. So that is where now you invert the pyramid, write beautifully, but write beautifully about weak ideas, and the whole essay collapses. So now directly if I start expressing, I am not doing 2 and 3, I am just invert the pyramid, you will only understand. You are just directly expressing, then you are thinking about the structure, then you are thinking about the ideas. Your entire essay will collapse. So that is why this pyramid, this flow process is important. Weak ideas can never be saved by good language. Weak ideas can never be saved by good language. Just because you are saying I have a very good language, I will do something in the essay. No. Ultimately, if you do not have very good ideas, strong ideas, then you have a structure, it does not really matter how good your language is. So why essays fail? Candidates sees words, topper sees ideas. Now consider the topic. The real measure of development is human dignity. So most students read it as development, like they write about GDP, infrastructure, economic growth. A GS answer dressed as an essay. Now this is what I highlighted in the first 5 minutes. Most people think an essay with GS 1, 2, 3, 4, I have enough ideas, enough material, I will dump it in the essay and my essay is done. So if you do that, again, it is just an objective way of looking. This is what you will just write in that topic. The real measure of development is human dignity. People will only focus on this GDP, infrastructure, economic growth. Again, it's perfectly said, GS answer dressed as an essay. So what actually you should be looking at is human dignity. They explore what dignity means. First, they explore what dignity means, when development fails dignity, and what true progress looks like. That is the essay. So this will give good coherence, good depth to the answer. So you first explore what dignity means, then when development fails dignity, and when and what true progress looks like. So that should be the essay. So every topic has 3 layers. This is important thing. Every essay has 3 layers. So tip of the iceberg antaralla. This is the sea level. This is the tip of that seaberg. Words, writing, evidence, all of this. But the much deeper analysis requires all of this. There should be a theme layer, which is the idea. Then much deeper is a more powerful essay, philosophical layer. You have to add up philosophical layer. I'll show you how to add a philosophical layer later. I will show my essay copies. You'll get an idea. So it should bury words athwa writing that does not make a good essay. You should have good ideas. You should have powerful language, and then it should also have some philosophical layer depth. All of this together will make a good essay. Bari words, writing, brainstorming in the nadiyala. Go deeper than the words. The surface is what you see, the literal words of the topic, the surface. The theme, theme is the idea those words point towards. So you have ideas, and what those ideas are pointing towards, that is the theme. Then there is philosophical layer. It is the universal human truth that gives the essay its soul. So philosophical angle yak baribeku antandre ashte. It gives a soul to the essay. It's not essay itself, but it will give some soul to the essay. Else it will feel like you are writing a GS answer. Ashte. Adu ondu reason ashte. Just to cover it up as and not look it as very mechanical, you add a philosophical touch to it. UPSC rewards essays written from the deepest layer. If you are exploring more of this, then you will get better in the 120s. If you are exploring on this 100s, you are only focusing on this less than 100. This was 2024. Forests precede civilization and deserts follows them. On civilization kina munche forest irate, and after the civilization deserts follow them. Here same, you have three themes here: words, theme layer, and much deeper is the philosophical layer. Similarly here the surface is just forests, civilizations, deserts. Idashte surface alli you are looking at. Then the theme, broader theme is environment and ecology. That's the broader theme, but that's not the only theme. Again, people who are focusing only on forest and trees, less than 90. People who understood, okay, theme is ecology and environment, 100. Then there is a philosophical core, the ultimate broader idea, much bigger idea. This theme is a subset of this philosophical core. So the philosophical core is sustainability of civilization. Now those who address that will get 110 plus. So this is how, at what level you stop your thinking, you will get your marks. So if you are just looking at the surface level, you are only talking about forests, deserts, etc., very mechanical GS3 and GS1 knowledge you are utilizing, some basic ideas you are putting, that is, you are barely scratching the surface. Then you are talking about, you are only touching upon the first circle, first theme. Then the second larger theme is you understood environment and ecology, you are much developing on it, you are linking it to ecology as a broader whole, then that's a good development. Then finally you are talking about sustainability of civilization, then that is the finally you hit the bullseye. So this single topic opens into a meditation on how every great civilization has sown the seeds of its own destruction through ecological carelessness. The word forest is merely the door. Walk through it. Here bari forests ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. Forest here is just like before the civilization, what was the relation between man and society, man and nature, and then man with civilization andre ಏನು? Every civilization begins with what? It is always surrounded by water first, then he brings with new implements, tools, etc. He uses the same tools to remove the forest, then starts planting agriculture, then he gets resources from that, then he builds more on that, he stops the rivers, he builds dams, barrages. So that is civilization. But in that process, what is he doing? He's removing the forest. Here forest means bari forest chala. It is nature as a whole. It is biodiversity. It is ecology, environment. Now bari forest bagi if you are concentrating, you are only talking about deforestation. You are only talking with respect to only forest, that's it. But if you have to understand, it is not about forest. It is about ecology, environment. Then deserts follow them and okay, forest tagdru adak desert bantu. That is very surface level thinking. Deserts here mean it is the how the mechanical way of life that this civilization led has led to destruction of balance between man and nature, and how what will happen next when that is destroyed. But desert stella, desert in the water level, you can connect it to much broader things. So that is idea. You should just start thinking deeply and not just look at it narrowly. So never write on the words. So this is the words layer. So never write on the words, always write on the idea behind those words. So these are words, forest, desert, civilization. You are not going to just write, on those words, you are always write on the idea behind those words. This is important. You are writing on the ideas behind those words. So the decoding process, art of reading a topic. Now I will apply it to a real. So there is a topic, there is a theme, and there is a keyword. So technology is a useful servant but a dangerous master. I think this was last year. Technology is a useful servant but a dangerous master. Keyword here is technology. Now servant but a dangerous master. See, just look at the topic. Technology is a useful master. It is helping you to do something, but it is a dangerous master. Means master always controls the slave, controls who is below him. So the theme here is about control. The theme is here about, this is very important. The theme is here about control. While the keyword was technology, technology is a dangerous master. It is about control, and it's also about complete conflict because it is useful, but also it's dangerous. So you have to identify the conflict. Same way which we talked in GS, we are talking about the various conflicts. We talked about how in GS2 and even in GS3 you are understanding the conflicts. Especially in GS3 we were talking about conflicts across papers. So same way you have to understand the conflict. Here the conflict is human agency versus technological determinism. Agency, I mentioned what is agency. Your ability to make your own decisions, that is agency. So here the conflict is technology is there and the human is utilizing it. But after a certain point, the technology starts controlling. For example, AI and super AI. Let's say you trained AI for your own, all these small things, etc. But now it is going beyond it. You have various tech companies that are now using AI for making, technology-based warfare. Yes, utilizing them. For now, it goes beyond it. Now the AI starts taking decision on its own without your command. So that is, you are losing your agency and this technology is taking control. So the conflict here is human agency versus technological determinism. So topic, theme, and then the keyword. So the keyword here is technology, theme is control, the conflict. You identify these three things. You identify what was the keyword first, then move to the theme, keyword, then move to the theme, then move to the conflict. You are addressing both sides. So conflict model, every great essay revolves around a tension. This is what I was talking, the synthesis. The synthesis is about the tension. The tension will be like you are talking about one side of the story, but that side of the story will not be perfect. So you are highlighting the other side of the story. That's the tension. Sustainability versus development, conservation versus development, or it can be anything, rights versus duty. That is why you go through the essay topics, you will understand. Your first instinct should be, is there a conflict in this topic? No topic will be precisely one-sided. It will not be completely one-sided. There will be two sides to it. Now your duty is to identify that conflict and address both sides. The conflict is the engine of your essay. This is an engine of your essay. It creates debate, nuance, and depth. I want precisely you to do these things. You have to debate your ideas. You take one side of the story, you debate on it, you generate, you make arguments. Essay should be argumentative. Argument means you are putting different ideas, different perspectives, different views. That is argumentative. So you should make debate that is argumentative. It should have nuance. Nuance means it should have some good amount of flow, depth, and it should have depth. These three things that separate 90 from 130 precisely. I want three things to be there, and these three things you are applying to both sides of the tension. You understood one part, you saw one side of the story, you are applying all of this, the debate, nuance, depth to those ideas. Then the opposite idea, you are again creating a debate there, you are coming up with ideas supporting that side, and then you are clubbing together. So you should identify, your essay should revolve around that tension, and in every essay you have to understand that tension. But my suggestion also here is that not every essay is 50-50. For example, it's like 50% you are supporting, 50% exactly half, 12 pages will be there. So 6 pages I am going to support this, 6 pages I am not going to support, I will write the other side. That is how it should not happen. Not every topic is 50-50. Let's say, yes, development versus conservation, yes, it is 50-50, but there will be topics where you don't have to, you will also be knowing that not this fact is not completely false, it is mostly true only. In 90-95% case it is true, just that there will be exceptions to it. So in that time your essay should be like just 70-30 or 80-20 max. So 70-80% you are supporting the idea, 20-30 you are giving a different perspective as to what what exceptions are there, in what cases the idea might tilt and not be true. So it is not like every essay it will be 50-50, it has to be, this is a very important point. Make sure that not all your essay should be 50-50, it can be 70-20, it can be 80-20. You should show that maturity to understand which essay should be divided how. But ultimately whatever division you make, it should have, both sides should have that depth, debate and nuance. So some examples is like freedom versus liberty, because there was a topic last year, the cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. The cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. So you might do something, it might go wrong, but the cost of it will be less than the cost of not doing anything in the first place. So entirely, yes, you can say the cost of doing wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. Yes, mostly it is a good or a positive statement. You write 60-70% in this manner. The other 30-20%, like, yes, sometimes not doing nothing is, the cost of it is better or higher, the cost of it is less than the cost of actually going wrong. So you have to understand that difference. So some of the very basic conflict will be surrounding on this, or even if it is not, you make a list of this and make sure you bring these ideas in your essays. One will be freedom versus security. For example, there are the UAPA, the National Security Act. Yes, this is all for what? For protecting the country, for the internal security, external security. But in that process, you are reducing the freedoms of the people, of the citizens. So that is a conflict. The second conflict, we already talked about, growth versus sustainability. The very important is rights versus duty. This is a debate that I feel you should again bring in a lot of ideas. Everyone talks about Gandhiji's quote, the source of all your rights is in duties. The source of your rights is in your duties. So you can bring that idea whenever such things come. That is why having a good set of quotations matter. Quotations is, why should I memorize all of this? Why should I? Yes, memorizing initially you might feel very difficult, and just by memorizing nothing will happen. You should know where to apply these quotations. Now that should happen very organically. So that is why you should, now no matter how many lines you debate about rights and duties, whatever you debate might be, yes, right or wrong, but once you add a perspective of Mahatma Gandhiji or any other, to address that conflict or address that perspective, that will add much more depth. So the depth, the nuance comes actually from these quotations, etc. See, you can debate on your own, yes, that you can do. Nuance, depth, all of this you can do, but for all of it, when you bring all these ideas of these quotations, etc., then it makes more, I feel, there will be a more flow to it, more depth and more authenticity to it. Then technology versus humanity, we already saw a topic there. Individual versus society. Try to, even these 5 themes can be important, like enough for you to, you can apply across essays, you can bring in ideas. Brainstorm through every dimension. After identifying your theme and conflict, first you identify the broader theme, just like forest precedes civilization. The theme, you should understand that the keyword was just forest, but the theme was ecology and environment. So first identify your theme, then, and the conflict also, identify the conflict here. Then systematically think through every lens. This is how 5 points become 40. So this should be the other. For example, individual and family. Always think of this thing. Any topic, individual versus family, personal. Again, all of these subtopics you can expand. So 5 will become 40. So individual and family, personal dignity, psychological impact, household dynamics, that you can highlight. Society and economy, social equity, market forces, community resilience. Then third angle should be politics and governance. Always bring in politics and governance angle, because ultimately this is an essay for civil service. If you bring that governance angle, I think instead of just barely talking only about socio-political, economical, which most of them will bring, governance angle will add more depth. Policy gaps, constitutional values. Constitutional values, again I will highlight it again. You can bring constitutional values, Supreme Court judgments as validation to support your argument. That again will be very good validation. Supreme Court judgments is not just that you utilize only in GS2, you can bring in GS4 essay. Then environment and global, ecological stake, geopolitics. Geopolitics, you have to bring geopolitics. This is where again, that is the importance of reading newspaper editorials, irrespective of whether you have PSIR as optional or not. Reading IR editorials will come in handy. So always bring about geopolitics, ecological stakes, intergenerational justice, history. I think most people will bring history, and that is something common. I have seen most people bring history. My suggestion is, if you are bringing history, always bring it as your first idea. Don't bring history like you have made all the arguments, debates, and then at last you are bringing history. No, history should always be at the first. It should have that logic. So if you bring history, then move sequentially, history, social, political, etc. Don't bring all of the political, ecological, etc. and then discuss history. You only think of it, it will not make that sense. So historical idea will also help you give that flow. Like you are establishing history, you are taking history as a reference, as an evidence, and then building upon it. So that is a good way of thinking essay, rather than you are building entire thing and then on top of it you are bringing historical evidence. That is not a good flow. That is what we discussed in the first. That is why it is important to have a structure and a flow. Flow comes from all of this. So this is flow. Like you cannot have history at the last. It is very logical, and please make sure you don't do that mistake. Most people do that mistake. Bring history at the last as a theme. So use history in the first few themes. So history, emerging challenges, what lies ahead, civilization patterns, etc. Here there was last year question. Empires of the mind or empires of the future. That is a topic I had chosen 2024. Here you can use history and future, that was the pattern there, that was the dimension you had to build on it. So empires of the past and empires of the present. The question was empires of the future, empires of the mind are empires of the future. Basically it's saying the future empires will be those who control the mind. So my basic thought should be, that's the broad idea. Yes, the future empires will be those that control minds. But am I going only talking about that empires of the future? Then what were empires of the past look like? That is a different angle I will bring in. The empires of the past were not about mind, but about, for example, if you look at the our own ancient history of the what we call as in all our ancient and medieval history, the control was not on mind, it was on territory, on economics, on money, on treasury. Those who controlled all this will be it. So you establish that point. Then empires of the present, how are empires of the present functioning? On trade routes, supply chains. China, you make use of China, it is controlling, you said something? Technology, you can bring in technology, semiconductors. China does not give its rare elements, and that's why all the other empires collapse. So that is how it is building its empire. So this is how now you arrive. So you tell, yes, empires of the future are based on those who control the mind. Yes, that you establish, because that's the main topic. You have to establish that first, 40%. Then you talk about the past, present for another 40%. Now you mix all of this, summarize, and another 10-15%. That is how your essay should go. So it's not that only you're talking about empires of the future. So this all will come in handy in exploring more themes, dimensions. The cost of being wrong is less than cost of doing nothing. So average brainstorming stops at same economy, polity, society. You're only thinking of. My suggestion is, please don't think in this perspective. This should be just like ಏನು work ಆಗಲ್ದಾಗ think of this. This should not be a primary criteria, primary frame of thought. Anything comes non polity, economy, society. Don't. This is like pre-COVID era of UPSC answer writing. Avaga it would get rewarded. Now it is very fierce. Straight away you will be in 70-80 framework and you will be stuck. So result, it will be very narrow, 5 points, very thin, repetitive essay, and he will feel that this candidate has not read beyond coaching materials, beyond GS main notes. That's it. Does not have a thinking capacity. So the topper continues. It's not topper or any good candidate will write. Psychology of risk aversion. See, the cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. It's a beautiful topic. You can go and brainstorm today or discuss in your groups. Excellent topic. See, the psychology of risk aversion. You are basically averting a risk and say, I will not do this. Why take this risk? I will not do. I am very happy with whatever currently I have. So that is enough. So if it's basically talking about that. Then it's talking about history of decisive movements. Let's say you have heard of Napoleon story of the invading Russia and how he got stuck in the most fierce winters of Russia. That was a decision he made. Probably if he had not done anything, just relaxed, maybe he would have continued. So you can utilize this for the counterpart. So history of decisive movements, make go home, use, there are very good moments in history where certain decisions have been taken that led to different changes. There are certain, for example, the use of the nuclear bombs, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, that changed the way we look at nuclear weapons. It changed the way history progressed, the Cold War, etc. So there, across history, there are these very important points in history where certain decisions have changed the way we are living today. So you go to ChatGPT or go to Google and make a list of those decisions. Then also tell it those decisions where we did not do anything, but still that led to advantageous moments. So that you can make. That is how you are building an essay, thinking, different things. So psychology of risk aversion, it is talking about that. Before all of that, we are just broadly highlighting without any dissection. You are just talking about different ideas. Psychology of risk aversion. Why do some certain people avert risks? Why? Maybe he's not taking risk. Maybe he has already taken and failed in the past. That is why he's not. And maybe another thing is like you don't have to fail by doing on your own. You have to look at others' failures, things where people have messed up. Okay, I will not do it. Paraglide ಮಾಡೋದು ಅದೇನೊಂದು ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ, bungee jumping ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾರೆ, and some people have died. Now I know some people have died there. Why will I do it? I may sound risk aversion, but I have a certain history as to why I did that. So there might be certain history. So any topic you try to look at from both perspective. Technology and innovation cycles, ethics of inaction, sometimes not doing anything and sometimes doing something, like both have consequences. You highlight the ethics of it. For example, there is a very good quote by Albert Einstein who says, the much of the bad in this world has happened because of the silence of the good, and the silence of the good people has led to more bad than the bad or the sins of the cruel people. It is not the sins of the cruel people that has actually led to all of this destruction, but the silence of the good people. So you talk about that, what happens, the cost of doing nothing when good people do not do anything, then it is more worse than bad people committing crimes. So you can bring such ideas. So you go through all those quotations that I've put, you just go and just start reading them. Do not worry as to how to utilize them, just go through them. You will get different ideas just by reading those quotations. You will. I have a huge collection of quotations that I've uploaded on the group. You can go through that. Then ethics of inaction, civilizational courage versus stagnation. Let's say man had not created that, he had used 2 stones and not created that fire, we would not have all of this. All of this that we see around us is because some person thought differently. He would have, if it's just sat like this and all of us are preparing UPSC, then who would run the world? Someone in R&D would be doing something. So you have to highlight that all the progress around this world is because of man's ingenuity, of man's thinking capacity, and that thinking capacity has led to certain actions, and that is we see. So you can highlight all of that. So versus stagnation, let's say every civilization fails when it is at the peak of its civilization prowess and people think we have reached the pinnacle. They stop making progress. They start, they become, let's say what we say, satisfied, and they are not thinking ahead as to what to do. They are contented, and that contentment leads to stagnation of thought, and then stagnation will lead to ultimate deterioration of that civilization. So you can bring such ideas. Future policy design, you can all of this and you can talk about future policy design. So result 40 points, a textured original essay. So you should be thinking on these lines and not this line. This is the most primitive, most I will say not at all creative, very mechanical way of looking at an essay. Please enjoy writing your essays. My suggestion, enjoy writing your essays. This is the only paper where you have something to explore on your own. In every paper there's like, they have given you a question, they are asking you to do something, forcing you to do something, like you have no points on that question or no, you are forced to write something. Here it is not like that. The field is open. You can explore like exponentially. It is, the field is wide and open. So make use of it. The blueprint of a high scoring essay. So this is what we already discussed. Essay, first introduction. That introduction can be theme, book summary or anecdote. Then you expand on it. So the expansion can be like 2-3 dimensions, and then in those again you can bring in more dimensions. Then exactly after 50-60% based on the division, based on the conflict, you can write the counter arguments. Then you are clubbing together the arguments and the counter arguments, the synthesis and the antithesis. Then you are bringing the synthesis. That synthesis again is very important. The synthesis will show more maturity, and it will show that two different values can coexist. It is your role to show that yes, two different ideas exist, but those two can coexist as well, and it need not be separate. So that is again 1.5 page. You make sure you write the synthesis. So every section has a role. Introduction earns attention. Why use anecdotes in introduction? Because it earns attention. You write some, don't use this fictional where you only create some stories like Sita, Gita, Ram, Sham. Please don't do that. It's again very cliched, very unorganic, very low effort introduction. He will not be very impressed. See, anything that is real, anything that has actually happened, that familiarity, you will more relate to it. That is why historical events, historical happenings, anecdotes, you talk about it, people have already witnessed it, heard about it. That draws that curiosity, that familiarity will actually threaten or frighten you. So you will actually be frightened. Let's say fiction story, you are writing something fictional, like you are only creating there is Sham, Ram, both drop a bomb. That really will not give me that fear factor when I have to create that impact on the reader's mind. Let's say there is Oppenheimer, then this is all this. What was the mission? The mission was called something. Okay, you can bring that mission name, then the describe the tensions around that time and how he says something, now I have become death, the destroyer of the world. So you use those exact lines, and then that will create more depth, that will create more, it will feel as if it is actually happening, because it has actually happened. Now this is what I want you to do. That is why anecdotes are important. Realistic anecdotes are important rather than all these fictional things. So introduction's role is to garner that attention. So that is why it's like the hook. Initially, if the teaser is not good, people will not go and watch the movie. So the teaser trailer has to be very attractive. So if the teaser itself is like boring, like or else in the teaser or the trailer itself you're showing the entire movie, then you'll lose the interest. So think it of a movie. Essay is like a movie. That's why you watch all this larger than life cinema like KGF, etc. Then you see how the story progresses. Yes, he gives a very wonderful backstory. Like he in the initial few minutes itself, he hooks your attention. Then he builds massively. Then he ends even exponentially. So that is how you should look essay as a cinema from a director point of view. Then you will ultimately come with a very good essay. Then dimensions, build breadth. Then counter arguments earns trust. This is important. Let's say there is a topic and you are thinking only from one perspective and you are only supporting that angle. Now this is the right thing, this is, yes, this, you are only writing arguments in supporting it. Now let's say the evaluator who is writing, he takes a very opposite view. Now you are basically trying to argue with the evaluator on two different, you are two antagonists now. You are hero, you are a villain to him. Now what that happens is, you are only trying to tell from one perspective. You are torturing him, you are targeting him, you are not trying to be friends with him. whatever he says, whatever his thoughts are, you are just saying all of them are wrong. So that is why you should give counter arguments. Now at least what will happen? Okay, you irritate him, offend him for the major part. Now when you give the counter arguments and say no, there is also this other part. Now which is his major thought. Now at least now he will sync with you and say okay, at least this candidate has that basic some sort of maturity to understand that there exists a counter argument. So that is why counter arguments will earn trust, and it will also show that you are ready to see both sides of the story. That is it. You have to see from both sides of the things. There is a difference between hero and anti-hero, hero and villain. Hero is positive, extremely positive. Whatever he does is good thing. Villain is everything he does is only full badmash, only he is doing bad things. Hero and anti-hero is not similar as villain. He is also right in his own way. It's just that he has a different worldview because of his own experiences. Hero is good because he had good experiences, because the world was very nice to him, so he's like, I'll do only good to him. Anti-hero he was trying to do well also, but the world was not good to him, and so he comes up with, he's been brought up in different circumstances, so his own set of values, which are also right, not at all wrong. What villain does is wrong, yes, but what anti-hero is just that different, and it is not wrong. So that is why you should think from hero and anti-hero point of view, not against, but show that there exists two different perspectives which are right individually, and then you show that both can coexist. So that is why essay is a cinema. Essay is a cinema. You should, whenever you restrict, always think of some nice cinema, some larger than life Batman, etc. This KGF. You see this larger than life cinema, then you will understand. Then synthesis earns marks. Most people, very traditional, the first comers will only talk from one side. With some fair bit of experience, your candidates will write counter arguments. That's it. You are ending at 100. But if you want to explore beyond that, if you want 110 plus, you have to write the synthesis. So synthesis earns marks. It is synthesis. Ultimately, you support argument, you disagree with an argument. It is just a perspective. Yes, you have shown that, but if you go beyond it and show that these are just perspective and again they can coexist together, that will show much more depth, and which ultimately that is what, as a bureaucrat, as a civil servant, you are supposed to do. You will have requests, expectations from people. There will be political interference and limitations, restrictions there, and also there will be your own principles and ethics. There will be limitations of resources, and then you are arriving with all of that, coming with a solution. So that is how you should establish. That is why synthesis is important. You cannot just say to the politicians that you are interfering with me, I will not do my job. You are not saying to the public that your expectations are unreal, I will not do my job. You are not saying to the government that the resources are limited, I am not able to do. Somewhat, ultimately, you are bringing all of those things and doing something, some common area, some in just limited scope, you are satisfying all of the stakeholders. That is what ultimately synthesis is responsible. That is why synthesis is important. That is why synthesis earns marks. You are not just arguing there, debating. So this is right, so this is also wrong. That's it. My essay is finished. You have to show, yes, right, wrong in their own word, but they can coexist, and this is how they can coexist. You bring the synthesis part. Then conclusion earns respect. Now you just conclude and abruptly ending your essay. Now you are showing hero, anti-hero, it is all going very nice. You are building dimensions, it has gone exponentially, it has risen. You have also made the synthesis excellent, again it has risen. Now suddenly part B, next essay. He will turn the page, part B, next essay. What happened? What happened to the hero? ನೀವು ಏನಂತಾರೆ KGF ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೋ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೀರೋ ಅಂತ. So you have to show what your hero does in the conclusion. Your hero should come back again. In the anecdote you had talked about a hero, what happened to that hero? He has to come back. He has to show that, as I said, your topic starts here, it moves like this through various dimensions. The synthesis is here, conclusion here, again you are concluding and coming back to that original anecdote, whatever anecdote it might be. You are coming back to the anecdote and connecting it to the story, or connecting to the essay topic, and say yes, just like we saw in that anecdote. And you are basically showing anecdotal complete story ಹೇಳ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, you are only showing very 50-60% of the story, remaining the climax you are bringing here and using that climax to all of this, conclude all of that you have done in the last 10, 12, 11 pages. On the 12th page you are doing that. So that is why conclusion will earn respect. So then there will be a sense of completion, that circle will be complete. That is what you should be doing. That is why it should have a good, nimge ansatara one story, it has very good cinema, very good, it has gone very nice. Conclusion is something you might not like. It is an open-ended conclusion, open-ended climax, and like it does not feel that you will not be satisfied. You will only feel it should have ended like this. It should have. Similarly, that evaluator will feel that everything was great, but it did not end well. It should have ended in a particular. So don't leave the end as open. You conclude, and that is where you will ultimately reap marks. And ಆ essay ಮುಗಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ he will put your marks. So that recency bias ಅಂತೀವಿ. Recency bias means recent ಆಗಿ ಏನೋ ಆಗಿದೆ, the last page is what will, maybe suddenly you will not remember what was the first page, but he will remember what the last 2 pages were. So that based on that he will be putting marks. So that because of that recency bias, if you end well, maybe in the middle you would have messed up somewhere, but he would have forgotten. But in the end, if you mess up, he will clearly know you have messed up here, so he will slash the marks. So it's important that at the end you end it on a high. You use a lot of lot of poems, quotations, a lot of vachanas, whatever, anything that is relevant and just peaks end, it should just conclude like blockbuster. Then definitely you will have, if you do it for both, you will have an excellent 120 plus in the essay. Just for the record, I had 124 last year. This year I had 116. I had a dip of 8 marks. Last year, I don't know, like again, what went wrong, maybe I tried to, I did the same thing, but still, I think, but also it is relative. 124 last year might be same as 116 this year, because last year the 10 marks were allotted much more higher. The positive were also very high. This year the positive was, there was a limit to it. 120, 125 was like max this year. Last year it went till 144 rank 2, 139 rank 24, and then 124 me. So it was even on the higher side. This year the higher side itself was scaled at 125. So for that year 116 is, again, it is all comparative. So if you do all of this, your target should be 120, 115, 120 should be something that you should target in essay. It will just take you from IRS, not even IRS, like not in the list to into the list, and into the list to the top of the list. That is why essay matters. So introductions, types that work. Now we are breaking every single so introduction types that work. The first paragraph signals to the examiner what kind of thinker you are. So choose your opening deliberately. First, there are just I have taken 2 to 4 types. One is, as we discussed, story or anecdote, a human narrative that mirrors the essay's central tension. See, it's a human narrative. Why did I say human narrative? Because it has happened in real. Anecdote is not some imaginary story. It is a real evidence, a real fact of history that you've put forward. So it will have that human touch that mirrors the essay's core tension. Then second is a provocative question. You can always start with question. like questions on happiness, on all of the any topic, you can always start off with questions. Ask a lot of questions. You examiner ge ontara you're torturing and forcing him to think, come along with you. So you are hooking again. See, attentioning, how will you garner? Either by showing a lot of love or troubling someone and then torturing them so that they look at you. So same, provocative questions. A lot of questions forces the examiner to think before they begin judging. Then historical event, this I said very simple. Like in the worst case, start with this. If you don't have anything, always begin with a historical evidence. Historical event grounds the essay in time and gives it weight and context. So historical event will give context. For example, I talked about the empires of the future or empire. You can bring in some historical event that has already happened. What I used here was for that topic was the 1984 book that I mentioned by George Orwell. So the book was same. He was controlling every bit of information in that country, the king or the prime minister of that imaginary world. So he was basically only showing what he wanted, only the good side of the government to the people. Everything was censored, everything was controlled. What they see on it, just imagine North Korea. Even the channels are like limited. Only those channels that the king approves, those are showed. Only those newspapers which are approved by the head of the state. Those are so. This is. So I used that anecdote to show that how in this essay or in this book, 1984, the protagonist, the king, not the protagonist, the head of the state, controlled the minds of the people, and then what it like. I used that story of George Orwell, then linked it to the topic. So you can utilize that. Then a paradox. An apparent contradiction that the essay resolves, instantly memorable. This is again, you can directly talk about paradox of the topic. Like paradoxes, both are two opposite yet true. So my favorite is anecdote, historical event. If nothing works, that's it. The test, every paragraph must pass. This is the building of the body of the essay. So every paragraph must pass this. It has to tell like why, how, so what. So state your claim and explain the reasoning behind it. Every paragraph here is one dimension. So every dimension should you have to stake your claim, explain the reasoning behind it, illustrate with the mechanism, example and evidence. Always bring in examples. Same with GS, just you have to, you explain any dimension, you give an example there. Without example, it will just again sound very hollow. So illustrate with an example. You said liberty. If I'm talking about liberty of or censoring of all of this, I will use the example of emergency era democracy, emergency era of the dark age of democracy. So you will get that familiarity. Then so what? Connect it back to the essays. Always central theme. This is something every dimension that you open at the end, before concluding, before ending that dimension, you should always go back and link it to the topic. Every dimension. If I'm opening one dimension, I'm explaining all of this. At the end of the page, I'm again. So see, this is how it is linking back to the story. This is how it is true with the, for example, the topic, the cost of doing nothing, the cost of being wrong is less than cost of doing nothing. So when I'm writing the first side, I'm giving an example and I'm telling, so this is how cost of doing, being wrong is less. I'm reiterating it at the end of every argument, every dimension. So that why we do this is to showcase to the examiner that I'm grounded, I'm still hooked to the topic and I'm not digressing away from the topic. Most people, if you are just only giving arguments, he will feel that at some point he will just start digressing, because you have to imagine this is 12 pages of content for one essay. Here he is reading 24 pages of it of so many other candidates, at least another 50, 60 into 2. So that would be 100 of essays he will be reading on an everyday basis. So you have to think from an examiner point of view. So that is why you have to always come back and tell him, this is linked to the story, this is linked to the essay topic. So connect it back to the core conflict. Why this prevents GS style answer writing? GS answers list facts and move on. Essays linger, they reflect and they connect. So that is why I will very strictly separate GS answer writing style from essay answer. You with GS you can have fodder material, but ultimately GS expectation, you list the facts, you're listing topics, that's it. They are not asking you to argue there, defend anything, nothing. So here it wants, you are asking the reader to reflect upon it. So that is why your essay should reflect and connect to the topic. That is why the so what, this is very important. This is the for every dimension this important. So the so what question forces you to remain inside the essay's intellectual world and not drift into a report. Now this is exactly what I want to tell. Then this is why it is very important to stay connected to the essay topic again and again. So the so what question forces you to remain inside the essay's intellectual world and not drift into a report. If a paragraph cannot answer so what, cut it, that's it. If you are not able to explain how this dimension is linked to the topic, then you should not include it in the essay. This is you are doing while brainstorming. You have brainstormed, now you have to show how it is linked actually to the topic. Merely brainstorming is just for you, that will be at the end of the page. A sheet in the marks kortila. So what should be included into the essay now will depend on how better can you connect it to the topic. If it is not connecting to the topic, then no matter if you have brainstorm or not, you should cut it. You should not include it into the essay. The biggest mistake treating essay like GS, this is again what we discussed in the first few minutes. GS answer more quickly, fact analysis, that's it. You are given a question, you are showing analysis, that's it. Information driven, it is efficient. Efficient means you are talking more points in less words without going any deeper. So information driven, efficient, structured for retrieval, works perfectly in GS. In an essay, it reads as shallow and mechanical. Essay mode, you have to bring idea, reflection, analysis. It is thought driven, it explores uncertainty, invites the reader into a mind at work. Then this is what UPSC rewards with 120 plus. Copying your GS writing style into an essay is a single most common reason for essays to remain 90 to 100. This is like absolutely truth. Those people who just say like the marks are very less in essay, he is giving very less, very unpredictable. No, there will be reason. It's just that they don't tell you all of this, the complete story. There is a reason why he awards less and more. First two means even I was of this opinion that I was, against anyaya agide. I am that student who's against whom deliberately some injustice has been done, or I've given my best, but nange marks sigli. Yes, initially you will feel that, but later on when you look at others, you look at top copies and then realize no, the mistake was not from my end. There is shortcomings from my own end. So that is why across the preparation UPSC always look inwards rather than pointing at excuse and saying this is not wrong, the evaluator does not know enough, he is not appreciating, this is all just simply they are not understanding what I have written. No, you are only giving excuses and avoiding yourself from actually improving. The improvement only will happen once you are very honest with your mistakes, you are start more accepting, you start more looking inwards and say, how do I improve from here? That mindset will ultimately help you, stay grounded and also make improvements. How toppers create flow and continuity. how toppers create an essay that feels like a journey. So paragraph A, B, C. See, paragraph A introduce the idea and pose the guiding question. Those guiding questions are the thesis questions. Then paragraph B, develop the argument as a direct response to A. Now you brought in ideas, you begun with some questions, you are bringing arguments to it and completing one side of the story. So you develop arguments is important, not just okay, socially this, economically this, no, that will not help. You have to argument is like how this topic is linked to, how my this dimension is linked to the essay, how this kind of like you are taking one particular side, how you are defending it, basically you are a lawyer of that side of the story. You are basically telling how your this point is linked to the essay, how that is right, how you are basically arguing for it. That is arguments. How do you argue? You bring in facts, evidence, examples. That is how you bring real life. That is why you bring in real life examples. That is how you will precisely show that real rawness of arguments, and that is when it will start seeming like an argument. Else it will just be like you are beating around the bush and not actually arriving at the point. So then paragraph C, conclude by synthesizing B, you are synthesizing B and resolving the question. So that is, now this is all for one part of the story. You are doing again this for the, not this, the other part B and C to the other side of the story. Then you get the second half. Then you are doing all of this for the third side, which is synthesis. You are having your synthesis. Then you are concluding. So this is the flow and continuity. This is how you will also maintain continuity. It's not that you are one page you are supporting the topic, next page you are opposing the topic, next page again you are coming back and supporting, next page again you are opposing. This is not a good essay, this is not a good flow of the essay. You will not maintain continuity. He will not understand whether this guy wants to support or not. You are putting even the examiner at confusion, and he will feel this candidate is confused. Any confused candidate, he will automatically put the marks first and then evaluate. So that's what something you should not be doing. The thread that connects everything. Each paragraph must be logical consequence of the one before it. This is very important. This one single line is what you should be focusing on. Every paragraph, one paragraph to another. The preceding paragraph should not just disappear before you are writing. You should show how it is connected to the next. You should make the transition. Let's say I will show how to make that. There are various connectors, transition words that you use. Let's say firstly this is one argument. Secondly, you are using those words showing that flow. Second, this one way. Second showing is you are writing something, you want to proceed in the same line, so you say consequently, subsequently, and then start your essay. The first word that you mention, that is important. That will show that you are flowing. If you want to flow in the same line, you say subsequently, consequently, equally, similarly, etc. If you want to say, I have written 2 paragraphs, now I want to digress, you say alternatively, or on from a different perspective, on similar lines, or another experience suggests. So you are showing that there exists another part. Now you are clearly showing this next paragraph is not in the same line. I want to digress now. If we want to show this, I am continuing in the similar line. You are saying yes, similarly, in same case. Another example, subsequently, consequently. Now what it shows that the reader now knows the next paragraph is on similar lines. It is just like the preceding paragraph, it is moving with the same experience. So that is why these transition, I have again put a compilation of those words. You can straight away take help from that. So that is why each paragraph must be a logical consequence of before it. For example, you are explaining a consequence of something and then addressing what actually happened. That is a wrong essay. Something happened, action and then reaction. You should not say reaction first and then come back to action. That is what it is suggesting. Logical consequence. That word you mentioned, that phrase you remember, logical consequence. I am telling again, cinema. The hero has some injustice, has faced some injustice. That is why he is behaving in a certain way. You are not saying he is behaving in a certain way, then you are telling what you should. That is why action reaction. So it has to flow like logically. So the reader should never feel a jump or a gap. He should never. You should only look at after writing your essay. Just look. Did I make the jump smoothly or was it abrupt? That's a simple trick you should understand. One paragraph ಇಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು paragraph jump ಹೊಡೆದಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಓದುವಾಗ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ like why did, at least you don't do it for your own essays, maybe you will not see it, do it for other essays, then you will, because you are better judging others than your own essays. Yes, so you look at others essay and then see, you will naturally understand was this jump abruptly or smooth, then that's a good flow if it's a smooth jump. So technique, end each paragraph with a thought that the next paragraph opens with. This is again very good. You want to bring a completely new idea in the next paragraph. You are, let's say just for the sake of argument, political angle, you are writing something. At the end, just before beginning the next paragraph, you are writing also there are some social consequences to it. Now next paragraph, social paragraph is coming up. Now the reader knew that the next paragraph will be talking about social consequences, so he will be ready. So that is the logical consequence, so that you can talk. Let's say opposite, exactly alter opposite view you want to write. You don't directly jump to the opposite view. You say, however, there exist other perspectives, and then say like firstly this. Now that will show that at the end of the paragraph the reader will be ready that okay, now the things are going to change, now he is telling me about the other perspective. So that mentally he will make that shift, and that is why that smooth transition will happen. So each paragraph must be logical consequence of one before it. The reader should never feel a jump or a gap. Technique, end each paragraph with a thought that the next paragraph opens with a concept, a question, or a tension unresolved. You can always do this, or you can say this is all true, but is there another side that is remaining unexplored? Let's see in the next paragraph. Now that will show that yes, there exists another side, and this writer is now going to showcase it to that. That is why read editorials, coaching notes, coaching editorial, the coaching the analysis, that will not highlight all of this. Editorial is editorial. You will understand how the writer has progressed, how he has made that. Coaching notes is ultimately you will not get that because it is precisely, it should not be, that's not the job of the coaching notes also. Coaching notes work is you are bringing just the summary of it, but if you have to really understand good writing, first read good editorials, good essays first, start having that habit of reading more beyond the coaching notes, then you will understand. Coaching notes is not literature, so you need to read real literature to understand what is a good literature. So always end with a question, concept, or a tension unresolved. An essay is not a collection of points, it's a river of thought. This is important, it's a river of thought. Why river? It should have logic, it should flow like a stream. So conclusions that leave a mark, avoid this. Conclusion should not be a summary of what you've already written. It should not sound repetitive. Even though you are writing the same ideas, it should not use the same words, but be a amalgamation of all the ideas that you've written previously. It should not be a generic call that government should do this, government should do that. Again, abrupt. Another quotation forcefully fed there, just you are dropping some quotation for the sake of it and then calling it conclusion. No, in conclusion you should not write in conclusion we see, again that is also very wrong. Use these instead. You talk about the vision, where must humanity arrive. You talk about the synthesis. I think that is a very good penultimate. Always write the synthesis. You reconcile antandre two different things na, you are making it coexist, seeing it together. So synthesis, reconcile the tension unexplored, then human possibility, end on what is possible, not just what is broken. This is again very important. Don't end your essay with nothing is going to save this country, everything is going to fail, everything we are going to die like this only in corruption. No, you write positively. You show that optimism, that yes, I see things improving. I can see this is Viksit Bharat 2047. This is the idea, India that I want. I would always use Rabindranath Tagore's poem at last so that it ends very powerfully. What's the poem? What is the? Oh my father, let my country awake. Where the head is held high. Where the thoughts flow like a river. In my where the walls of thought are not very rigid. Something, it's very beautiful. You can mention that poem, Tagore poem. Where the mind is without fear. That's the poem. So, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the word has not been broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought of action, into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. This is something I always used. It is a beautiful poem. It is such a powerful and insightful poem that it just, gives that hope that yes, there is possibility of good things happening in this country. There is good, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So you should show that there is light at the end of tunnel. You should not, no, this is the tunnel is going to collapse and we are all dead. This is the end. So you should show that positive, optimistic end at the conclusion. So that is why it is important. End on what is possible. Yes, till now you have accepted the limitations. Yes, that is what I said of a bureaucrat, of a civil servant. Yes, there is limitations, resource constraint, expectations, etc. But ultimately he delivers something. End on what is possible. Whatever is possible, you bring in that, and not just what is broken. He's not saying, okay, I'm not going to work because I have no resources. The pressure is too much. The interference is too much. The expectations are unrealistic. I will not do. He cannot say that. He will ultimately not just what is broken, he will not focus on that, but end on what is possible. So essay should also be on such lines. So why essay scores 90 versus 130? I think mostly you will be understanding by now what is 90 versus 130. 90 essay will be describes the topic, lists dimensions socially, politically, economically, culturally, legally, internationally. That's it. Without connecting them, he never shows how it is connected. Writes on the words, the three layers, words, ideas. He only writes on the words and not on the idea. Concludes with summary. That's it. He's not synthesizing anything. He's like yes, no, end. That's it. 130 will explore the underlying idea first. He will question the conventional assumptions. He will reflect with intellectual honesty. Intellectual honesty, that is important. You are accepting that yes, certain things cannot be changed. This is the problem. These are the limitations. Then he brings in the he synthesizes the tension into a larger truth. Yes, this was the problem. This is the positive. And this is the way forward. He's synthesizing and saying, he's showing there exists light at the end of the tunnel. So this is what differentiates 90 versus 130. topic, define the subject clearly. Then philosophical core, state the central idea. Then dimensions, list the perspectives. Then narrative flow, connect ideas into arguments. You have a lot of ideas, now argue on that. So essays are not tests of memories, essays are tests of organized thinking. There should be organized thinking. That is what I said, GS 1, 2, 3 and or even 4 to the extent, it is again ultimately test of memory. If you remember that code, data, that SDG, etc. on that day, you are putting it. There is no organized thinking there. You are not going to bring in any new ideas. In essay, you are ultimately, it is an organized thinking. It's not just thinking, it is organized. It is ultimately, why it is organized, we saw the flow, arguments, counter, the thesis, antithesis, synthesis, etc. So then it becomes organized thinking. So candidate who sees the deepest idea hidden inside the topic, deepest idea hidden behind the topic, inside the topic, usually writes the best essay. Most aspirants ask, what should I write? Toppers ask, what this topic really about? What is this topic really about? So UPSC rewards depth, nuance, balance, flow. I think we've touched upon all the 4 words: depth, nuance, balance and flow. So this is the essay. I'll show a bit of my essay, some of my essays, so that you understand all the fodder material that yes, it is here. I've put it on my Telegram channel. Please go through them. You will understand different. I've also these are the brainstorming sheets at the end of each of my essays. So essay anecdote material. This is an anecdote material, huge compilation. Short, long, everything is there. You can just go through them. So for example, this was my first essay, like first page of it. I started off, this was in like 2020, 2021. So it's a huge collection. A lot of, this is something I always like, Margaret Mead. I think I have written it in the next page also. This is, for example, Margaret Mead is anyone with anthropology. Anthropologist, she's an anthropologist. Okay, I caught you there. Yes, anthropology professor. A student asked Margaret Mead, Professor, what she considered as the first sign of civilization. Now, the student expected like tools, the resources, etc. All of this. The student expected tools, pottery, artifacts, etc. But the professor said, instead, she said, the first sign of civilization is a healed femur, thigh bone. She says it's a healed femur, which is the thigh bone. What she meant was, actually written the complete in the next page. She explained that in animal kingdom, if you break your legs in animal kingdom, like if you're a tiger or a lion or any other animal, if you break your leg, you die because you cannot run from that. You cannot run from the danger. You cannot hunt. You cannot eat. You cannot drink. A healed bone is a sign that someone has taken time to stay with you, stay with the one who fell, someone has tended to the injury and tended to the wounds of the heel till recovery. It has finally healed, and helping someone through helping someone through that injury, through that entire difficult process, is where civilization starts. Let's say if someone had not taken it as an opportunity, again it would just be individual growth and not a civilization growth. So that is why Professor Margaret Mead says the beginning of a civilization is a healed femur bone. That is when people started actually thinking of a society as a whole, civilization as a whole, and not just individual development, individual prosperity, etc. So these are some, like, this is how you should be. These are some anecdotes. I have collected a huge number of anecdotes. There was a question last year on the essay, the second essay I had written. So I had used this AR1 had written it, or last year Aditya Srivastav sir had written it. So I had used that reference. When you have to juxtapose two different of same area, two different people. So Akbar, Aurangzeb, Mandela and Mugabe. Mugabe was the dictator of Zimbabwe. Then Mandela is South Africa. Again, two African countries, but that went two different ways. Then Akbar, Aurangzeb, yes, two Mughal rulers who had two different ways of life. Then Obama and Osama. Obama is the president, Osama is the terrorist. So you can use such ideas to begin your essay. Then these are some like books and the antagonists, just to get that. So you have a lot of, this is just one page. I have at least 25-30 pages, I would say. So huge number of this is 1, 2, 3. I feel this is of Anudeep Durishetty sir. The first four, that was my first few reference. This is Anudeep Durishetty. This, I think, is a very good anecdote. The year was 1945. This was a question on essay on education and how it will transform. The year was 1945. Towards the end of a gruesome world war, the world powers decided to carve up the Korean peninsula along the 38th parallel. Before partition, North and South Korea might have been homogeneous in every respect, but after the division, they strayed into different paths. While schools in North chose to educate their children in the worship of cult leader, ideological indoctrination, and servility, the Southern counterpart focused on liberal education, innovation, economic growth. Today, almost 7 decades later, the difference in the fates of these people and the trajectories of both these nations cannot be more stark. One is known for gross violation of human rights, while the other is a champion of liberal democracy. One is known for gut-wrenching poverty, while the other is known for unbridled prosperity. This proves the age-old adage that destiny of a nation is indeed shaped in its classroom. That was the essay topic. The destiny of a nation is shaped in the classroom. So this is how he brought. So this was my first few references of anecdotes. So you should be looking, and you will find so many of them ready-made in newspaper, in various books, etc. You can just directly utilize all of this. But I feel most of the things I've compiled here. Who has watched Godfather movie? Anyone? What a shame. Okay. You killed the anecdote. You massacred the anecdote. Then you have Dr. Kiran Joseph. So it's a huge number of anecdotes that I've compiled. You can, whatever you like, you can. This is again very good. I picked it from a website called Bar and the Bench. On the Republic Day, there was an excellent article that was put. So it was like any question on the failures of democracy or how India has not developed. Like while there has been progress, that progress has been just limited to certain pockets of the country or concentration of wealth, etc. Just beautiful. This very harsh, I would say, critic. We, the people of India, saw how many lives were lost during the second wave of COVID-19. Citizens scrambling to secure a resource as basic as oxygen for their loved ones knocked the doors of the court, because this was 2021. Actually, the courts had to come in. Ours is a sovereign country which got its independence decades ago, but at times we fail to understand the agony of migrants, refugees, foreigners who are rendered homeless and stateless. We are taught about socialism, but equal pay for women is still a distant dream. The preamble also calls for secular society, but there have been instances where individuals of a certain faith are discriminated against. It is ironic that we have a law against love, anti conversion law, and not against hate, which is lynching. We are the largest democratic republic in the world, but decisions changing the very face of a region and those putting the livelihoods of millions at peril are taken sans means without, are taken without any consultative process. We are guaranteed social, economic, political justice, but owing to deficiencies in our criminal justice system, under trials languish in prisons for decades and some prisons die before the trial. Our outside may be equal, but deep inside we all know how the Mahadalits in Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh are alive just by eating rats and worms in the 21st century. Every individual has the liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, but these are times when comedians are asked to sit down rather than stand up. Everyone is aware about the trinity of liberty, equality, and fraternity, but some individuals are more equal than others. So this was a very powerful story that had come around COVID that year. I found it very useful. I have used it in this year also. In Anubhav test, I had probably used it. You can see some individuals are more equal than others. If anyone who has read Animal Farm, George Orwell, this is the central idea. So this can directly be my idea. Suggestion is go read 1984 and Animal Farm. Very small books, less than 100 pages of books. You can add directly for reference in your essays, etc. You will get a lot of insights. Again, in interview also you can say I read books. I love reading books. You can say, and so that is it. So this is some anecdotes. Go through it. I have a huge compilation. You will be very tired of it, reading it. You will never finish it also. This is Walt Disney. Someone any essay on extreme struggle on winning it after failure. You can always use Walt Disney's example. So his family was so poor, he had to deliver 1300 newspapers a day. Then his father would take away all the money. At the age of 19, he started an animation company, his lifelong dream. He failed to sell a single cartoon and his company went bankrupt. He started an animation studio in an old garage. He spent the next 5 years of his life working with no income. In 1982, he finally found success with a short film but lost the copyright to his own characters. He was crushed. He tried again with a new character, but the audience was not impressed with his film. Still, he never gives up and made the second film, but he would never find a distribute. Finally, he found success on his third attempt. His character, Mickey Mouse, became a hit. So, if you can dream it, you can do it. That's what Walt Disney said. So, you can utilize such stories as anecdotes, as as value addition, etc. That's a huge collection. Please go through it one by one. When you are bored, just always go through it. There's a very good Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche, a beautiful quotation. If you crush a cockroach, you are a hero. If you crush a cockroach, you are a hero. If you crush a beautiful butterfly, you are a villain. Morals have an aesthetic criteria. So such a beautiful quote, such hard hitting quotes. I have huge compilation. I've made your job easy. So I'll also put my QR in the group. Please pay individually. So it's a beautiful. I have made at least this is one page now. This is essay 3. So this is essay 1, 2, 3. This I had made at least. This is 6 years of collection. You don't have to utilize every bit of information. This is just for reference. Then you will understand. So you can utilize all of this. It will come in handy. So you don't have to actually sit back and actually do anecdotes. All of them are ready. You just have to read them and know where to use them. That is what. So then there is essay quotes. I have again made a lot of quotes collection. You can just go through them. So this is quotes, like huge number of quotes. India, like very much like character is integral. Lots of ethics also you should know where you should. Very simple quotes like you should use Ambedkar there. I want all people to be Indians first, Indians last, and nothing else but Indians. Very simple to most complex quotes. Everything is here. Just Lord Hewart, you can use it in GS2 also, in GS4. Justice should not only be done but also seen to be done. So this was because it had come in the context of the Shaira Bano judgment, the recent triple talaq judgment. Like it was in context. This was picked up right from the newspapers. That is why I said read newspapers. The context was that yes, the judgment came, triple talaq happened, etc. Yes, but there was difference in reality. There is a mismatch between the judgment and actual ground reality. Still, triple talaq was happening. There was some, justice was not being given to any of those women. So that is when, in that context, you can utilize it everywhere. Just by giving some landmark judgment, does it really change the ground reality? That you can always use this as in GS2. Anywhere you want to criticize judiciary or about any judgment, their question, you can always bring in that value. Use quotations even in GS papers like 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't shy away from using it. Science of today is technology of tomorrow. This itself can be a essay topic. You can always, so most of them, actually the essay topics also I've used as quotations compiled here. So you can, so all of this is my favorite quote which had come by Justice Chandrachud, the father of D.Y. Chandrachud, Justice Y.V. Chandrachud in Minerva Mills case 1980. So now what happens is 3 articles of a constitution and only 3 stand between the heaven of freedom which Tagore wanted. You know what was the heaven of freedom, the poem that I read out. Only 3 articles stand between the heaven of freedom that Tagore wanted his country to awake and the abyss of unrestrained power. They are articles 14, 19 and 22. It is from this judgment that there is called as the golden triangle of 14, 19 and 21. Everyone knows golden triangle 14, 19, 21. You can say or utilize it in various in the context. So this is huge collection across books, notes, topper copies. There is again even PSIR, lot of notes, so quotations. This you can use in GS1. Any time why the British Empire excelled, you can say the fact that a gun beats the spear is the reason the sun never sets in the British Empire. We were basically fighting against the British with swords and spears while they were coming up with cannons, guns, etc. So you would have never, even the history suggests, our kings, our empires had so many large soldiers, etc. Numbers were very high against British's very small numbers, yet the Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, etc. This was the reason. You can always use this in GS1, etc. So this is a huge collection. You can utilize this. A lot of shlokas, etc. This is a very, very important quotation. Irrespective of UPSC, you should know. Until the lions have their own storytellers, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. So you can, this is a powerful moving quote, you can always utilize. A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. You can utilize it in GS4, corporate ethics, corporate governance. So that topic you can directly utilize. So you go through it, you then you will understand. So lot of quotations, lots, you can have huge ideas. Also, I feel that once you read more quotations, you will have different perspectives. Till then, you will also have only one way. So the utility of quotations is not just that you are just mugging them up. This is, you can JFK had this again, any topic only on geography theme comes, you can say geography is destiny. Napoleon says this, geography is destiny, and this is true for let's say if this is a essay topic, geography is destiny, that's it, essay topic. You can have so many examples. See, Indian subcontinent, you have the Himalayas. Because of the Himalayas, we don't have those chilling winters. Then yes, then you have there's a reason, like US is the most blessed country in the world, because at the top is Canada, bottom is Mexico, comparatively less developed than US and more friendlier. So neighborhood was always secured for it, unlike India, which is surrounded Pakistan, Afghanistan, you have China, etc. So I would always want to secure my security is always in danger, but US does not have to worry about it. Similarly, if you look at all the world wars, etc., that have happened only in European countries or the Asian countries, and the Americas were already always like safe, secure, because it did not move till then, because it was separated by the Atlantic. So geography is destiny. It was never included, and it never lost its prosperity in World War. Whereas other had to rebuild. European countries had faced massive destruction, again they had to rebuild. The Japan had to rebuild again from scratch. US never went through such crisis ever in history. So geography is destiny. So you have to come up with such ideas and bring in, and you can utilize that quote itself as a. So try to think more, try to brainstorm. Don't directly jump into essay. I will write that this. You should have good fodder material. Only then you can think. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, you can directly use this. Question, lot of Mahatma Gandhiji's quotes, etc. This is my favorite. We need to invert the dictum of Darwin, where the weakest and the poorest are protected. What does Darwin say? Survival of the fittest. But in social justice, it is opposite. If it is survival of the fittest, the most marginal, the most backward classes will perish. So that should not be the goal of administration or governance. So whenever you want to write in governance, you can utilize this course. We have to invert the Darwin's dictum and say where the weakest and the poorest are protected. So this is how you can utilize it in governance. You can utilize it in so anywhere in your essay, ethics. Ethics, it comes in so much handy. So all of these essay will it will give the quotations will give you a lot of perspectives in essay ethics also. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Essay topic. It was a last year essay topic, so you can directly use. There was again. This is a beautiful compilation of these judgments from the Sabrimala judgment. So in the theatre of life, it seems man has put the autograph and there is no space for woman even to put her signature. Patriarchy in religion cannot be allowed to trump right to pray and practice religion. And this is my favorite line: to treat women as children of lesser gods is to blink at the constitution. You can use powerfully across papers this one line, and it will just show the your character, your depth. So a lot of you can go through them. Again, it's a huge collection. You can take a print or read it on your tab. I have put it. Then there is this is a fodder material. This is what I was talking. This I will quickly finish so that you understand the transition from paragraph to paragraph. Paragraph to paragraph, it has to happen. So for example, for introducing points. So you can always utilize things like before you begin a certain paragraph, you can say at the outset, or a foundational aspect is at its very core. You are explaining a core value, core lesson of a topic, theme of the topic at its very core. For example, the forest precedes civilization. You can, so at its core, the topic is revolving around ecology, environment, biodiversity, and this you can talk of what lies at the heart of this disease. So this is for introducing new points anytime. Wherever you want to add information to the same thing, now you are argumenting for it. Now you can always continue from the same. Furthermore, in the same vein, complementing this, equally important, reinforcing this view. You tell a point, you want to again reiterate the same point with other example, reinforcing the same view is, then you can start the second paragraph. A parallel observation. So you can always talk in this. When you want to show critique, contrast, this and against, then you say in contrast, then you say the opposite view. A conflicting viewpoint suggests, yet it is equally true. Now you talk everything and you at the next page you want to shift the tone. At the end you say, yet it is equally true that there exists other side of the picture. Now I will explore that. In the next page you start showing the other side of the story. This is how you want to example, you make an argument, you want to give an example, you can say a very good illustration of this, a fitting illustration for this argument is this. A very good example, a historical precedent you can show, real example for this argument would be. So now you are showing that there is example that is coming next. So you want to emphasize something critically, a critical point you want to emphasize again. So you have to show what makes this even more significant, central to this discussion is. So these are just some words, you can utilize them. Cause and effect, this is important. As a direct outcome, you show certain process, certain thing. Now you want to emphasize on the consequences of it, you have to say as an outcome of it, as a logical consequence, as a natural consequence, as a direct outcome, evaluation, looking ahead. In conclusion, you can always draw. I would utilize this, you will find this, me using this word a lot, drawing the threads together. This is useful for synthesis. You have made an thesis, antithesis. Now you want to begin your synthesis. I would always begin my synthesis using this, drawing the threads together, and I am now moving forward. So it's a very beautiful way of putting. Now, yes, you would need this. Earlier I said, yes, vocabulary, rosy words, yes. Does this matter initially? No. The initial matter is structure. It is ideas, it is brainstorming. All of this is just to make it more attractive, that's it. So, ಇದರಿಂದನೇ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದರಿಂದ ನಿಮಗೆ 100+ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. No, 100 has already come, 100 to 110, 110 has come, 110 to 120. The role is this. So this is one. So some phrases and which you can use again and again. Let's say I also talked about subtitles, mentioning subtitles, and say when you are not using thesis questions, you can go for subtitles. So I had made a subtitle list here, so you can utilize that. I will show, for example, interesting subheadings for essays. Now you can say not a panacea for all problems. You argued for something, now you want to talk the, yes, this idea was true, but it is not a panacea. Panacea means medicine for all the problems. So from crisis to catalyst, from conflict to cooperation, a divide. Now you want to talk about there is a topic about certain division, like we talked about digital divide. That's a divide within a divide. What is that? Urban, rural, women, men, youth and old age. So it's a divide within a divide. Then you can trust with destiny, a missed opportunity. Now you want to explain everything, then at the end you want to talk about the other side for a fair bit. Then you can say a missed opportunity. It could have been like this, this can be like this. One page. That's lessons from the past. Now you want to explain your essay from a historical angle. Start with the historical event itself, your arguments. You can always say lessons from the past. In the past was, for example, the empires of the mind, empires of the future or empires of the mind. You can say, you can argue all of that before showcasing empires of the future. If you want to highlight empires of the past, you can say lessons from the past. Then it is understood that next you will be talking about the empires of the past. So you can use all of this, progress or paralysis, symbolic or substantial. You can use all of this. So again, this is rhetoric or reality, hits and misses, addressing the root cause. Whenever you want to write way forward, you can say addressing the root cause. So these are some, again, you can utilize wherever you want. This is for brainstorming, how you should be doing brainstorming. This is the brainstorming I had done for these essays. So that had, so this is landscape actually. So I would, can I invert this? Edit image, no, that's it. You can go through this. So this is, for example, essay topic. I would always write my essay topic here. First is introduction, decide the anecdote, then themes, philosophical, Supreme Court judgment, judicial angle, woman angle, sport, history, then international, geography, polity, Gandhian aspect, then this is cultural tradition, etc. Then here would be try to think of quotes, classics, etc. This you can go through the Telegram channel, you will have that PDF, take a printout of it. So this is just a brainstorming framework, like how you should be doing. I have brainstormed essay here. I would write, if this is the paper, my essay would come here. Now I would think like this. So that would give me the picture. Some people just write. For me, I would not get that clarity. Even my brainstorming should be very, my brain is not that developed that I can understand all the clutter. So I'm not stressing my brain. That's why I would make it very clear. I would write the essay here, then brainstorm. So it would give me a complete cycle. So that is how you go about it. I've done a lot of, that's it, I think this is it. That's the essay decoded. What essay copies? Essay copies I've already uploaded today morning. I've written, actually one essay copy was missing. I wrote 8 essays, that is 8 into 2, that is 16 essays. But unfortunately one I've lost. So there is, that was the last essay I had written. So 7 essays I have uploaded. So you will have 14 essays. I'll also try to identify and get my previous last year essays, because that had scored 124. But again, as I said, it is contextual. So I'll upload those also. Okay. I think that's it. That was a good session. I enjoyed doing essay after GS2. Huh? Yes, you enjoyed? Yes. Okay. That's it. Any other questions I would like to take, or we can wind it up? Okay. That's it. Okay. All the best. Bye. Okay. See you. All the best for those who have written prelims. The result will be out in next week. For those who have given KS interview, all the best to them as well.